Good morning, all of my Facebook friends. Thank you for joining me for another Watercolor Wednesday. I've got another project for you guys, so thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I can't wait to say hi to all of you, so I will see you popping up here in a second. Linda, hello. Hello, Dee. Hello, Kathy. Kathy from Texas, hello. This is just a little bit slower, so it's catching up here. Just a second. Diana, good morning from San Jose. Barbara, hello. Barbara's watching. Jane, hello. Paula, good morning. Good morning to all of you. Thank you. This is my favorite day of the week. I absolutely love Wednesdays. I love sharing these projects with you, so I appreciate you watching. It's so fun, and I have several things to tell you, so I'm going to wait just a second to make sure everybody gets on, and then I have a list of things to tell you guys this morning, including 4 new sets from our newest release. So this will be the last 4, and then after these 4, I'm going to start mixing it up, and then next week I'm going to do a Christmas one because, you know, July is going to be over, and if July's over, it's Christmas. So we might as well get started with some Christmas things. So I'm going to do a Christmas tutorial next time, and I'll start mixing up all these sets with things that we already have. So if you have ideas for me and things that you want to see me do, please let me know. And I will also be giving this project away. So go ahead and put that in the comments. You might as well start doing that right now. We usually wait a couple of days to make sure people who can't watch live can still get into the drawing. So if you would like to have today's project, just put that in there. Please send me Bonnie's project, or I'd like to have Bonnie's project, and then we'll put you in a drawing and you'll get a chance to win that. Okay, you guys. Hello from Oklahoma. Hello, Vicki. Thank you for watching. Diana, hello. Melody from Elk Grove. Love Elk Grove. Tony, good morning. Sandy, good morning. Good morning, you guys. I just appreciate you all being on here so much. Just means a lot. I feel like we're just, you know, we're all friends just meeting up on a Wednesday just to do some watercolor, and I get to teach you and see what awesome things you create. It's just the best. Okay, so let's get going. First thing I want to tell you that is the simple scenes, the 2 newest ones. So that would be the Rocky River and the lake. Now this is the one that I've used in the last 2 tutorials. These are now back in stock in clear. So if you have been waiting for these in clear, we now have them back in stock. So good news on that. I know some of you are diehard rubber fans, and we have had them in rubber just because we've been waiting so long on these. So I hope you've had a chance to get the ones in rubber, but those of you who are waiting for the clear, they are now back in stock. And I love the clear. I am, you know, I've been stamping for many, many years, and I also love the rubber, but I really, really like the clear for these because you can see so much easier where to place them. And the ink is a little blotchier on them. So I think that adds a lot of interest. So obviously I love the rubber too, but I'm just a tiny bit, I have tiny preference towards the clear now. Never thought I'd say that, but I really do. Okay, the other thing I want to tell you is this eraser now that I have used in the past. Of course, I couldn't find mine this morning, but I do have a picture of it. This is from Tombow. So this little eraser will erase your watercolor, you know, mess ups. Not that you guys do any, but on occasion, there may be a droplet or something that you're so upset with yourself for spilling something on it. This thing works pretty well. We now carry these. I have one. Of course, I can't find it this morning, but I did want to show you a picture. If you would like to order them, they're $3, and you can get them on our website now. So maybe with your next order, in the search to find it, just type in eraser, and it'll come up. So those things are really, really great. Okay, the next thing, Deal of the Week. For those of you who have not seen Deal of the Week, this is something new for us. We started it as Deal of the Day, but there was a problem with that with the shipping. The shipping was just adding up for a lot of people, and we just couldn't find a way around it. So we changed it, and we made it Deal of the Week. Now there are 7 deals for the week, so there's still one every day. And these are great deals, so you'll want to check on that. They come out every Monday morning, and they go all through the week and end Sunday night. So every Monday morning, there will be 7 new sets. 7 new, it could be anything, SKUs. Some things that are new, some things that are older, but they will all be at least 40% off, and some of them up to 70% off. So these are really, really good deals, you guys. And it's just been really fun to do it. It's fun to mix it up and make it available for you. So you could go in there and you could wait till the end of the week and just see what the 7 deals are, or you can, buy them as you go. But there will be 7 new sets on sale every week starting Monday morning. There will be 7 new ones up, and it will be available until Sunday. So it'll just, it'll make things easier if you want to buy more than one. You don't have to pay that huge shipping cost for each one. As the way that we had it before, they were only up for 24 hours and then they were gone. So this way, they're up for a week. So you guys can check that out. Go to the website, artimpressions.com. You'll see the big banner that says Deal of the Week, and you'll be able to go there and see all 7 of those SKUs. The other thing I got to tell you guys is, okay, this is by popular demand. And again, this is a shipping issue because shipping costs are really high. We have dropped our shipping back down to $50 for an order. Free shipping at $50, you guys. So it was at $75 and we have dropped it down to $50. So it is possible that you could get those deal of the day, those 7 sets, or maybe even 5, and make your $50 mark and get them shipped free. So you know what? We're here for you guys. We're helping you out as much as we can. Okay, so announcements over. Does anybody have any questions? If you have questions on that, I'm sure somebody is on here that can answer those questions. But just to recap, Tombow erasers are now on our website for $3. The Rocky River and the Lake Simple Scenes back in stock and clear. Deal of the week, check that out. Free shipping, $50 or more, and you will get free shipping on your order. Okay, now let's move on to the 4 new sets. So this is the end of the release. I mean, it's always kind of sad when it's the end of the release, but it does feel like something new every week because, we just mix them up now. We get to mix them up and do all kinds of crazy fun new things with them and find new ways to use things that we already have. So let me show you what they are. First of all, there are 3 new silhouette sets. Now these are little skaters, little ice skaters, and what I had in mind with these was the lake scene. So this scene, and you can see on here that it's snowy. So I was thinking when I did these little ice skaters, wouldn't that be cute to do for Christmas? Or for those of you who just, live where there's lots of snow and ice and your ponds and, waterways, they freeze up in the wintertime. You do a lot of ice skating. So I just thought that would be a really fun set to do for those of you who live in the tropical areas, maybe a fun Christmas card. So I'm gonna be doing stuff with this one for sure, especially now that we're gonna be doing some Christmas things. So there are 6 different little skaters in this set, and they work the same as the other silhouettes do. So really, really fun and easy to do, and we'll get into that for sure. Deer. So, you guys these are requests from you guys. So a little set of deer that will be really fun to put in the background with the little barns and all the little scenes we make. The deer will be really fun. There are 7 in here in this set. And then this one, horses. This was also a request from you. So I have all, these horses that are in all different positions. They also will be really, really fun to do with the barns. And lastly, our project today, the vintage car. So I have loved this set. I love playing with it. I hope you like the project today. It was so fun to do. And you know what? This was a pretty simple one. It really was. And I'm going to kind of walk you through it and show you all the different ways that we can do it. On here, I just saw this, but here's the fence that is part of that set. Isn't that cute with that little horse? I just think that little scene is just simple. They don't have to be super elaborate. Look how simple this is. Just the part of the fence that little horse in the background with the simple scene, just so cute. You can make these little cards. I mean, they don't have to be elaborate. You can make these little scenes just so quickly and just blow your friends away because they won't believe what a great artist you are. So let me show you our project today. And this is it. So this is the vintage car. And you can see that when I first did this, I was thinking more of a masculine card, which we absolutely can do. But I also love it in all the flowers because it doesn't have to be masculine. It can just be full of blooms, and it's sort of on the edge of this little lake, and we've got the little ducks in there, and it was just so fun to do, you guys. Just really, really fun. So we're going to walk our way through that, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, and then I can't wait to see what you guys do with it. So let me say hi to some of you that I may have missed on here. Ruth Ann, hello. Jean, hello. Elizabeth, thank you for watching. Vicky, Maggie, Linda, Teresa, Robin, all of you guys. Thank you, Sherry, for watching. Dee, Carol, all of you. Thank you so much, you guys. I hope you like this tutorial. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do because I just love this technique so much, and I love that it's simple to do, and I love that you guys can do it. I just know you can. So let's get started here. I'm going to flip my phone around and get myself set up. This is, as many times as I've done this, it's still nerve-wracking. I'm terrified I'm going to just cut you guys off and push the wrong button. So I always kind of breathe a sigh of relief when I get myself situated here. So let me make sure that I've got everything lined up. I'm just going to hit one more light here to make sure that we've got enough light. Okay, that's much better. And if you have questions, I will try to be watching my iPad as well as my phone here and, as I'm doing this project. So be sure to ask questions. Somebody will be on, or I will be on later, and I can answer your questions later. So here is our project. I put it in a little mat. I always like to encourage you guys to frame things. I know it's a little hard to think that your art could be framed sometimes, but it can, and even if it's simple, a little simple thing, put it in a little mat like this. That's the first step. Put it in a mat and then put it in a frame, and you will be amazed at how much that means to someone to do that. And these little mats are not expensive. So you could just put it in something simple like this, and you're good to go. So let me show you, first of all, let me show you what we're using. In addition to the vintage car, which, let me show you that set. This is number 5416, the vintage car set. It comes with this little vintage car and those little fences and this great bucket, which I absolutely love. Can't wait to use that. And it comes with an image with an example on here too. So we're gonna use the vintage car. We're gonna use the large rocks this time. And this is another one. It's really hard to pick because I could have used any of these, but I picked one of these two, and I just chose this one up in the corner. So I picked that group of rocks. And then in the branches set, I'm going to use this one. I just created a little tree out of it, little simple kind of a shrub tree. And then in the foliage set, we're going to use this little guy. And then one of these, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. This little grass here. Just going to the left. So these two, and then in this tree set, we're going to use the foliage. This one right here, and then back to our staples, the little grass in the foliage set, the first one, and then in the flower set, the little filler flower, this one. And in here, oh, this little guy. Haven't used this in a long time. And I'm trying to do that, trying to go back and use these things that I haven't used in a long time. There are so many things that work. Really, there are so many flowers and things that you could put in here that would work. So I'm trying to just go in there and pick out things that maybe I haven't used in a while. So let me move this out of the way now and show you kind of my process. Now here's the first one again. And you know, I think this is, I really like doing this because first of all, I do it more than once. You know, 90% of the time I do it more than one time, and I look at it and then decide if I want to change anything. And I was pretty happy with this. I like the colors. I like the small combination. I love putting the vintage car in a kind of a different location. I just love the water now and the reflections in the water. And I think that repetition is good. This can be something that's a little intimidating, and I think doing it over and over again takes the intimidation away. So I like to repeat things that I think are a little more difficult, just so that we can practice it a little bit. It's also good for me because I practice it a little bit more, and then I maybe find easier ways or little tricks that help you do it to make you even more successful. Okay, so I did put these little reflections in here and the shadows by the rocks. So I did like that. Now the difference is I tipped the card down a little bit. This seems like a really subtle thing, but it really changes the picture. So do you see how this looks like it's kind of coming down a little slope here and just kind of parked by the edge of the water? It's a tiny little thing, but I like the change that it created. Now you could tip it back a little bit, especially if you had a bunch of rocks here in the front. Maybe this were a lake and you know, maybe it were more wild and you had more trees and things like that. You didn't have as many florals. Maybe you tip that little car back a little bit, like it's kind of coming up onto the rocks. Do you see what I mean? I'll show you that again too when we get ready to stamp it. It's such a little thing, but it's these little things that really make the difference in your art. You know, when somebody looks at it and says, that is so good, they really can't even pinpoint one thing, but it's little tiny things like this that sort of take it to the next level. And that's what I love teaching you guys, things like that. So I changed that when I did the car. I tipped it down a little bit, like it's sort of coming down, like whoever was in this car, you know, wherever, kind of drove it as close as they could to the edge and just stopped right here. I also added the little ducks. So it's fine like this. I think it's totally fine like this. I would, you know, not do it again because of that. But I thought I've got some space in here and I'm just going to add these little ducks in. And I really think they kind of added a little more interest. It kind of gave us something else to look at. And I think they fit in there really well, and they're super easy to do. So I'm gonna add those into this project today. Other than that, I really didn't change much. I concentrated the leaves a little bit more to the top because I kind of felt like this was a smaller little tree, and I like the look of that more than this one. So other than that, I like the colors that I picked. I like the grass in between. I didn't change out the colors at all, but making those few little adjustments, I kind of feel like that really made a difference. Okay, so all that being said, let's get on with our project. And I'm using my watercolor paper, so my Canson, for those of you who may be new. This is Canson watercolor paper, my favorite, my go-to anymore. It's very consistent. I used Strathmore paper for years and years and years. It works great, but it's a little textured, and it's not very uniform. So one pad to another can be totally different. And so what I found myself doing was going from pad to pad and picking out all the smoothest paper and just not using the other. So when I found Canson, I'm really, really happy with that. It's very consistent. And honestly, you can use both sides. You really can. I'm using the textured side on this one, but if you're doing really detailed work, you can use the other side, you know, when you're stamping something that's more detailed. Okay, so enough long-winded. Let's start out with this project, and I'm going to start out with the rocks. I'm going to place those a little bit off to the side so you can see here in the composition. The truck is not really in the center. It's off just a little bit, especially since I added the ducks in here. So I'm going to move this off just a little bit to the side, and I'm going to ink it in two colors. So I'm going to start out with the blue. This is the dark blue. These are the go-to colors. And the dark brown. And I'm just going to stamp that. Now I'm not stamping it off because I want a little bit more color on this, but I'm going to stamp it off, move it over just a little bit to the side, just like this, and stamp it right here. And now I'm going to ink the car and stamp it just above those rocks. Okay, so we're going to do this in the two colors also. We're going to use the dark blue. We're going to use the dark blue here. And ink that all up, and then right over the top, the dark brown. And I'm going to use my positioner because I want to make sure that I get that, I don't stamp that car over the top of the rocks or something like that. So I've stamped that in the corner, and I'm going to I think I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to leave a little bit of space between that wheel and the rock, but not a lot. I don't really need to. Now here's where I'm going to tip it down a little bit. Not like this, but just a little bit. So this is straight, and we're just going to tip it down a little bit so it looks like it's kind of rolling down the hill a little bit, down to that waterfront. And then I'm just going to huff on it and stamp it because I've already stamped it off onto my acrylic plate. So I think I'm good as far as making it too dark. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now let's go ahead and figure out where our water line is. And you know, this right now, it's hard to see where it's going, where the water line is. So here's where I would take a pencil and I would kind of think about, first of all, do I want the rocks in the water at all? Do I want them right up against the water? Maybe. So I could leave a little bit of these rocks kind of hanging out over the water and kind of bring this around a little bit. And then just kind of maybe make this come around so that I've got this little bank, and then place my ducks right in here. And I'm going to wait till the end to place those ducks so I get them as close as I can to the flowers and the foliage. Okay, so that kind of gives us a visual. You can kind of see where this is going a little bit for your eye. If you just start stamping, you know, what happens is you're going to get your florals and everything kind of out of line here. And you kind of need to know where that's going, especially if you're going to do that reflection over the water. So you can see here where that reflection is. We're actually stamping over the top of that line and putting part of this image into the water. And I'll show you when I get ready to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going here. We're going to start out by just doing these rocks. And once we get the rocks done, we can go ahead and do the ground here. And I'm going to start that way because I'm going to do this truck last, mostly because I want to see how far these flowers come up and to try to blend these lines into those flowers. So I'm just going to dip my brush and pinch it off. And I think I can maybe bring this up a little closer here. I think that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna start out by pulling the color out of the lines. Remember, the highlight is at the top, so the tops of the rocks are always going to be lighter. Even if you color these rocks dark, even if you have dark rocks, you know, more gray and darker, you still want to have the area on top be the lightest. And everywhere sort of in these cracks is going to be the darkest areas. And you can see all that color starting to come out. And I'm just going to pull some of this dark color here and move it kind of down a little bit. You know, and you know, when I'm pulling this color out, I'm actually just kind of dabbing my brush over it, because when you do that, you get a little more texture in the rocks. Now, they're not going to be perfectly smooth, so they're going to have little nooks and crannies in them. And if you make, you know, small brush strokes, you're sort of giving that idea. You know, with watercolor, it's all about the idea of things. It's all about that. So you can see how realistic those look right now. And we're going to go back and add a little more color to it because, you know, rocks on a pond, they're going to have moss on them. There's going to be some reflections from the flowers on them. They're going to have a lot of colors in them. And it's really fun when you start doing these techniques because you start to notice that. You really start to notice things when you're out and about. Oh, how are those trees? How are those branches on those trees now? How are those flowers in the foreground? You know, what happens when the shadow comes over it? You know, what color are in those rocks on the ground? You really start to notice those things and kind of make a mental note. And you know what I do a lot? My phone is probably 90% my grandchildren and 90% screenshots or photos that I've taken of things outside. If I see something really interesting, rocks, rock formations, or colors, I take a screenshot or I take a photo of that so that I have it for a reference, because it's really fun to add those details in there. And everybody needs inspiration and a reference to start. And I'm just the starting step for you guys. You can totally take this to the next level and make it your own. And you know, I've seen some amazing work. I've seen some amazing ideas and creativity that I never thought of. So I love seeing that. And I would encourage you to really kind of take it to the next level like that. If you love this art form, you will be amazed at what you can do. You'll be amazed. You think you're not an artist, but honestly, you probably have no idea how good you could get. You really, really can. And these are just tools to help you. These stamps are just tools, and you can take it to the next level. I know you can. I've seen it. I've seen so many people who said they weren't artistic do some amazing, amazing art. So I'm confident in you guys. All right. So I'm going to start adding the flowers now. Put this onto my my block, clean it off. This is how I clean it off. And old habits are hard to break. Okay, so let me get this. This is just, you know, if your stamps aren't sticky, just run them through some plain water and just kind of clean them off and put them back on your block, which sounds like this is what I need to do with this one. So when they start getting like that. So I'm going to start adding some color now to the front. And I'm going to use this purple. So this is my favorite purple here, the 636. Love this color. It's very dark and vibrant. And so it's easy to stamp over the tops of things. And I'm just going to come down over this line a little bit more here. Let's just do a little bit more. Because I want some of this into the water. So see where our line is? I'm coming down over the line and I'm going to pull some of this into the water. So let's add a little bit more over here, maybe kind of back in the background like this. And I'm stamping it in a circle. So I want to stamp that over and over again. And let's change color now. So I cleaned off my stamp. I am using a wet paper towel too. You can use a baby wipe. Just, you know, anything simple will clean these. And I'm using the light blue now. This is a 526. And I'm just going to put some of this color in here and also stamp it over that line. And maybe I'll just, this is what I did in the other one. I kind of put some of this blue over here. So I've got a good mix of color, and I've kind of stamped over these tires and just kind of made it look like this car is kind of down in this little area. Now here's where the pencil line is. So you can see here's the pencil line. And you can see how much of this is over that line and into the water. So this does not have to be intimidating at all. Just follow these simple little steps. If you want a reflection, stamp it over that line a little bit. And then this area that's above that line, we're going to do just like we normally would. So we're just going to tap it and add the water just like we normally would. And, you know, you can go outside the lines a little bit. Got a lot of color on your brush, so you can kind of extend that color to your composition. And we can blend this more later too. So this is all just the beginning stages. Okay, so now we're going to take this color, and we're just going to kind of smooth it out. And the same with this, kind of this purple. So you can see the difference here. These lines are much more horizontal And we can add some more color to that too. Now this one isn't extending over the bank, so we don't have to worry about this one. So now let's go ahead and add some green foliage in here. And here's this little vine right here. This little guy. And I'm just gonna stamp a bunch of this in here. It just looks like a little shrub. And you know, if you don't have this particular one, there's so many things that you can use. Just, you know, really any kind of foliage stamp is gonna work. And let's see, maybe I'll just put a little bit in here. Just kind of filling it in a little bit. And then I'm just gonna carefully dab at this because I do kind of want to see those little tiny leaves, but I want to soften it too. And you know, this is also why I'm kind of waiting to do the color on the car, is because I'm stamping over a lot of areas and I don't want a lot of color to stamp over the top. So, you know, it's fine to do it the other way too. It really is. But you know, in this case, just because I have so many florals here, I don't want to kind of fight with colors that are on the car. Okay, so now I'm going to take a little bit more of this blue. This is that 526. And some more of that purple. This is the 636. And I'm just going to take a tiny bit of this and just make a little dark line here, just like that. And what that does is it sort of creates a shadow so that it looks like this is hanging over the edge. And the same with the blue over here as well. Just a little bit. And then we can erase this line later. So don't worry about the pencil line. That's gonna all come off. So we're not gonna worry about that at all. Okay, so now let's add some grasses in here. And I'm gonna take this little grass and I'm just gonna kind of come under this little bush, and maybe I'll just put a little bit back in here, and then maybe a little bit kind of underneath these little flowers here too. So you can put as much of this on as you want. Or you can just have blooms too. It's kind of fun to try different ways of doing it and kind of find out. This is all part of finding your own style. You know, the more that you do of these projects, the more you do, the more your style will come out. It absolutely will. You'll find yourself, you know, you'll find your hand being a little dark or light. Some people have a very light touch. It's just beautiful. They just have very light touch. And then other people are dark and vibrant, and they've got these dark, strong lines, and it's just also beautiful. It's your personality. I mean, more than anything. So I'm just putting a little more color in here into the water. These are straight lines. These are straight lines. So, you know, we're thinking about how the water would go, okay, in here. So let's add the water now. Let's just do that. So I'm going to use, this is a 565. And I'm going to really water this down. And, you know, your paper can handle it. It's watercolor paper, so it can handle this watered down version. Now remember, watercolor is the idea of things. So we don't need to fill up this whole area with water. We get that it's parked next to a bank. We totally get that. So we can just show this water in here very simply. With just a few little lines, we get that it's a pond. And I want to kind of leave some space here so that I can get those little ducks in. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind too. And then under here, under these rocks, whoops, that's purple. I don't want that. Under these rocks, we're going to, as soon as this is dry, we're going to put a shadow under here. Because remember, we kind of said we're going to hang over. Some of these rocks are going to kind of hang over this, you know, this area. And we can kind of reflect some of this in here too. Some of this blue, we can add a little blue. That's just going to create a little more shadow in here. And, you know, here too. You know, if you're not sure, just start out really light. Just start out really light. And, you know, there's not a lot of area that you have to do to convey that, you know, this is next to a little pond or a lake. We totally get that. So we've got our little shadow in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. I might come back and add a little more color in here just to kind of make these little, this little area a little more vibrant. But we certainly have our water, and we get that it's next to this little pond. Okay, so let's move on to the truck. Let's move on to this guy. And, you know, first of all, you want to look at where the contours are. Are there any contours in here? There are some here. So this is rounded. Anywhere there's a rounded area, we have to show a highlight. So obviously up here, this is going to be lighter on the top. Here too, these little round hubcaps, those are contours. So just keep that in mind when you're pulling the color out of the lines. And remember, you're pulling the color out next to the lines, so you're not following the lines. And I'm just going in between this little grill here. It's so much fun. This whole thing is just it's so much fun. The tires, obviously these tires are going to be pretty dark. So here's what I mean by the contours. So see, we're going to leave that highlight in the center. We're going to leave that in the center. And I'm just going to kind of come under this little this line here, so I can pop that up a little bit. And these fenders obviously are going to have a highlight on them. So you're going to pull that color where it's the darkest to where it's the lightest. So I'm going to leave this pretty light up here, and we're going to add some color to this anyway, so I don't have to do a lot right now with that. So this is a good start, and you can see how that's already looking three-dimensional just by pulling that color out of the lines. So this is just a good start. And I'm going to make this a two-tone color, so we'll go back in and do that later. So we're just kind of at the starting stage. It's too plain right now. It just looks too plain. We gotta add some color to it, or and if we're gonna leave it white, we need to add some more shadows to it. So, but this is a really good start, and your eye can see that it's three-dimensional. You can totally see that now. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by adding some color to it. And I love this combination of the green and the blue. So what green it is, so it's a 177 and a 526. This combination, it's kind of a teal color. Let me show you on here. So this green here is a combination of those two pins. I just really like it. I think it blends really well with all the greenery that's in here, but it's just a little different. Do you see the highlights on here? Highlights on these little fenders, highlight on the top of the car, all those areas that we want to show where the light is hitting. So I'm going to just kind of mix up. I also like mixing colors because they're not all exactly the same. So even if this truck were green sitting out in the field and you looked at it, it's going to have a ton of different greens because of the cast shadows, because of the reflections. It's been sitting out there, so it's, faded. It's got a lot of different colors. And when you color something all one color and all the same shade, it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like it's actually a truck or a car that's an actual car. It looks like you've colored something. So when you mix your own colors, you can sort of get a variation of color, and it just adds to making this whole thing look a little more realistic. So again, start out light. Start out light. That's always a good idea because you can always come back in and add more color. And I'm just going to do the top part of it. I mean, I don't know if this is really a thing, whether they actually paint these cars with two tones like this, but my car does. My car has two colors. I just think that's so cute, and it just kind of mixes it up a little bit. So I'm going to put this color now on these little fenders, or whatever they're called. And I'm starting very light. So the highlight on the top, so important to do that. And some areas you can have a little more blue, some areas you can have a little more green. But when you do that, it makes it look a little more natural. So when I'm coloring something, I'm usually picking more than one color and kind of blending them. Now, because, we've got all these reflections of blues and greens, you can add a little more blue to some areas. I just think it just looks so much more natural, and that's what we're trying to do. Now, this area inside, this little area in here, that's going to be really dark. Try to make that as dark as you can. See that contrast? See how that just made that look three-dimensional back in here? Just doing this little dark area. Isn't that crazy? So anywhere that you can make it super dark that you think might be in a shadow, see back in here, make that really dark. It's gonna make a big difference. And then I can take just a little bit of that and just kind of put a little bit in here. I never want to leave anything uncolored. So even if I think the rest of this car is white, I'm still gonna put something on it, some little shadow or some sort of color or something. Okay, so now I'm going to actually take some black. And this is the black I'm using, N25, so a black of any kind. And here's my dark brown, 969. And I'm just going to kind of mix these two together a little bit and get these tires a little darker. Now see why I did the card later, because I didn't want to fight this color, this dark color, by stamping the flowers over the top. And we can just add it, kind of add it in here, just like that. Down here where these little, wheels, hubcaps are, they're also a contour. So see at the bottom, that's where it would be the darkest, is under here. And when you put that shadow under here, see how that makes that look rounded. So now I'm going to take my twin tone, my handy twin tone, and I'm just going to really darken this area in here. See how that just really brought that back and added more dimension. See under here, see how that brings that up, pops it up? And back in here. And then, you know, under here, where this little radiator is, you see how that just brings that out too? Just putting a little line in there and just darkening. Wherever you can find areas that you can just add a dark, little dark area to, it's gonna make a huge difference. And let's just do one more thing here. So let's take a little of this blue and then let's just make a little shadow here over the wheel. See how that also popped this up? Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna do one more detail here and put these little door handles back in. Just really lightly. And then let's add some foliage now to here because I feel like this little car has been sitting here for a while. Now you don't have to do this step. You could just leave it, but I kind of feel like it's been sitting here for a while. And so we've got some things growing out of it. You know, this is the same little foliage. And then, you know, we can just add some in here and then just kind of fill up this area. You know, as much as you want to do. When it comes to stuff like this, it's so subjective. You know, whatever you like. Whatever you like. And whatever colors you like. I think this would be so cute for a fall theme too, wouldn't it? I think we could make this so cute. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and put our little tree in. And I'm just going to cover these areas. So I'm going to use a little piece of Post-it tape. And mostly just cover the wheel here so they don't stamp over the top of that. And I'm going to just ink this in 2 colors. So I'm going to go over it with the brown, the 969. And then I'm going to go over all of that with the green. So this is that warm green, just kind of over the whole thing. And then I'm just going to stamp it just right about here, just lightly. And then I can add my little foliage to it. Love this guy. And I'm just using that same green again. And I'm just going to, you know, add a little bit of this. I kind of like this better where I just added a little bit kind of to the center. It kind of gives you the idea that it's more of a little bush than a tree. Because if it were a big tree, it would have to be way in the background. And then again, you're just tapping because you want to see some of these details, but you also want to kind of blend it up. So you get that 3-dimensional, you know, light in the background and dark in the foreground. And you can blend this out as much as you want to. I really like that sort of faded out look. You know, it's almost a whimsical, you know, when you're looking at these pictures, it's almost like a, almost has a dreamlike effect, you know, where it just looks, it doesn't even look real. And I think you get that when you really, really blend out the colors. See, for example, just pull some of this color to the outside and just get this really faded out background. But, you know, it's okay to have that clean look too. It's totally fine. Again, there's where your style comes out and you just find yourself doing things and having the same look. Don't touch anything on the tree branches. Don't touch any of those with your brush. We want to see those really sharp lines, and don't add any water to it. It makes them too thick. So let's add some sky in the background now. And I normally understate the sky. The sky is not the focal point for me, so I usually just make it very simple. I just put it in and I sort of push it around with my brush just so that you can see that blue in the background. No brush strokes. No brush strokes. It's too hard to control when you start doing this kind of thing. And then, you know, going like this and then like this. It's too hard to control and make it look natural. So it's much, much easier just to kind of push it around. Okay, so now let's add our grass back here. So this one here. And I don't need the whole thing. So I'm just inking about 2/3 of it here. Which is the thing about stamping, you guys. You can ink as much as you want. So I don't need this harsh line. I just ink to about here. So I guess that's about 3/4 maybe of it. And I stamped it up above too. So let me show you what I mean. So 3/4 of it, about like this, 1, and then above, 2, and down below. So you don't need to stamp it all in one straight line like this. You can, but it looks more natural to mix it up. So 1, above 2, and down 3. See the difference? Whoops, upside down. So now we can add a little water to this, not in the area where it's the most detailed, so just kind of at the base. You want to leave this area here where it's a little more detailed. And then we're going to add some florals in there. And that's where these little guys are coming in. And I'm just going to ink the blooms, so not the stems. I don't really need the stems. And it's a little bit farther in the background. And here's another place where you can kind of do as much as you want. Add a few little dots in here. You know, blooms are not all the same. And because they're kind of in the background, you can just add a few little dots like that. So cute, just so cute. So now let's add our little ducks in. So I'm going to use my positioner, of course, because who knows where it would end up. And, you know, because these are rubber, you can't see through them to see exactly if they're straight. So a little positioner is really, really handy. And we now, if I haven't said this recently, we now have the larger acrylic plates. And you know what? I need to get one for myself because I still have these little ones, but the new ones are I believe they're 4x6. And so when you go to stamp something large, like the car, you can fit that on here. I mean, it's just a much bigger plate and easier to hang on to. So that's on my list to get because I really, really need that. So I'm going to use 2 colors again. I'm going to use the blue and then the brown. Now, really, in most cases, it's fine to use the blue first and the brown second. The reason that I'm doing that more is to save my blue. Because when you do the brown first and the blue, you're going to get a lot of that brown onto your brush. Now, I started out having a separate one that I just used for that in that case, and it's pretty gray because it picks up that brown every time. So more and more, I am doing the blue first and then the brown. Now, it's very subtle. I can tell the difference, but for the most part, I think it's probably worth it to save your blue. It used to be that I would say do the brown first if something is stone or metal, and then the blue, and then the reverse if it was for something like wood or like an antique white, and then you would do the reverse. But in most cases, doing the blue first and then the brown is fine. It really is, especially if you're stamping it off. So it will protect your blue pen, I gotta say, a little better because see, we're doing the blue first and now we're doing the brown over the top, and that doesn't bother the brown. It's fine. So now let's stamp this in the corner. And we can put these little guys somewhere. Now I can stamp over that blue a little bit because his head is going to be green. So I think that's a good spot right here for them. And I can huff on a little bit and stamp them just like that. So cute. They're almost off the side a little bit, which I love. And again, we don't have to cover this whole area with blue to give the idea that we are with a bank here, and we don't know what kind of water this is. I mean, it could be a pond, it could be a lake. We don't really know what it is. So that's kind of the fun part of the painting too. So it's a little mysterious. So the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is to pull the color out of the lines very lightly. And his body, now in last week's tutorial, I used these so you kind of could see how to color them. So I won't spend a ton of time on that, but his body is pretty light and she's a little darker. She's a little browner. So I'm going to use my twin tone and I'm just going to color her beak in. She's got a little darker beak. And then he's got a yellow beak. So we're going to use the fine tip of the yellow and color his beak in. I'm just going to get their eyes really quick. Like so. And then let's get his little green head in. I'm so partial to mallards. I just think they're so cute. And they're also just very fun to color. And they really kind of brighten up your composition. So I'm using my tiny little brush now. And I'm just getting his head in. Now, try not to touch the eye. You want to leave a little bit of white space too in there if you can. And don't forget that little white ring around his neck. It's got a little white ring, and then he gets dark. And I'm just going to kind of mix this brown and black together to get a darker brown. And it just sort of comes down like this. It doesn't have to be exact, you guys. It doesn't have to be exact. And it's pretty dark. His little chest. He's just pretty vibrant. And I'm just going to get his little head in here again, a little darker. Like so. That looks good. I'm going to take a little bit of this color now, this little kind of gray and black, and make some little speckles on her. She's very speckled. Kind of on her body here, and then a little bit up on her head. And then back to my brush, and I'm going to take a little of the blue and just make a little shadow underneath both of them. And we can kind of soften these little spots now. Looks good. And then let's add a little bit of water underneath them. So she's back a little bit in the distance, so we can just do her little shadow and him. We can make some little water lines that work for him. And he's just gonna have a little shadow under here. And then let's do the reflection with him in the water now. So we're just gonna kind of mirror that. Make sure this is dry, and we're gonna mirror this area here. And then his little head. You know, as long as you kind of get the right colors in here, it's totally fine. It's very forgiving. And then let's just do his little beak. And it looks just like a little reflection. And see, we don't have to go clear around here and show all of this water. You get the idea that this comes around. You can totally see that, even though we don't add a ton of water here. And that's kind of the thing about watercolor is, I think that might be the hardest thing too, is kind of knowing when to stop and not feeling like you have to color every single thing in perfectly. So let's go back now and see if there is anything we want to fix. And I think I'm going to add a little bit more of the purple and this light blue into the water, just to get a really good reflection. And I'm just going to kind of dab it in here a little bit. Just like that. And the same with the purple. And you know, we can add a little of this green in too. Make sure I got a good shadow, you know, under these rocks. This is going to be really dark under there. And I think I'm going to go over these flowers a little bit. So I'm going to just clean my stamp. I'm not sure what color I have on here. Probably blue. And I'm just going to add a little dark to these, just to give it a little more texture and add a little more depth. Now you don't even have to you really don't even have to add much water, but see how that just kind of adds a little bit more depth here. And let's see, is there anything else we need to add? I really don't think so. I think we can clearly see the water. And you can see that I left some white spaces. So you don't want to color everything in solid, ever. If you can leave those spaces, leave those spaces. And I think we're good, you guys. I think we're done. I'm going to sign it and date it. Whoops, wrong end. And let me hold this up so that you can see it. See all the detail on there. Pretty simple. It didn't take a lot of stamps. I mean, just a few. You could also change everything up, you know, and use different florals. You could change out the season. That would be so fun to do that. And put it in a frame and give it away. Okay, I'm going to change my my camera back over. And I'm back with you guys again. So anybody have any questions? And if you would like to have the sample, be sure to put that in the comments that you would like to have it. We'll put you in the drawing. Anybody have any questions about anything? And on the comments, you guys, I go back and look at these. So if you have a request for something, now that we've gone through all the sets, let me show them to you again. So we've got our 3 new silhouettes. So I will be using those in the future for sure. 3 new silhouettes. So we have the horses. This is number 5428. So we've got this little horse set. So it's so fun to put into the background. There's a sample right there, so you can see. We've got the deer. So there's also a sample on there. 7 of them. And then these little ice skaters. I can't wait to do these, you guys. It's gonna be so fun. Remember that pond can just be used in sections. One of these times, I'm gonna use the whole pond. I'm gonna just use the entire stamp, and you guys will be so shocked by that. But I think I've used, I've done 2 tutorials and used the front, and I've used the side. So I just keep that in mind that you can use bits and pieces of things. So those 4 things are on sale, are now released, so they are on our website. Remember the eraser that you can now get for those little goof ups. I mean, not that you guys make any, but I do use mine. And they really, really, really work. So we now have these on our website. They're $3, so you can get that. Remember the deal of the week, 7 new sets every week. So out on Monday, 7 new sets, and they are available until Sunday. So you have 7 days to get those great deals. They're between 40 and 70% off. So they're great deals, and it's just really fun to pick out fun things for you guys. If your order is $50 or more, you get free shipping. So we are now, from now on, because you guys requested it and we know how much shipping is, we have dropped our minimum order to $50. So you will now be able to get free shipping with $50 order. Clear sets now, these are back in stock. So the pond is back in stock in clear, and the Rocky River is now back in stock. So all good news, you guys, today. All good news. And I hope you give this project a try. I'm looking here to see if there are any more questions. I don't see any. Already ordered all the new sets. Thank you so much for that, you guys. We appreciate your support so much. It meant to be able to do what you want, what you love to do, and to see all this great art and then have it be your business. I mean, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful every day, every single day. I'm thankful that we get to do this. So thank you so much for your support. We will be doing the drawing in a couple of days, and we'll give this sample away. So be sure to tell me if you want it. And thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Next week, a Christmas project. Next Wednesday. And tell me what kind of Christmas project you want. I mean, I'm thinking that maybe I'll do those little ice skaters on the pond. That would be really fun, huh? And how much Christmas do you want? Should we just start Christmas and every other week maybe do a Christmas one? That would be so fun. We'd love it. Thank you so much again. I will be going through your comments, so be sure to comment any questions, and if they haven't been answered, I will for sure answer them. And I will see you guys all next Wednesday. Next Wednesday for another Wednesday Live and another fun watercolor tutorial. So I hope you give this one a try. Thanks again.